हाँ stop करी तो दोबारा करो. Hello friends, a very warm welcome in today's newspaper session. Let's pick up those important ideas which you must remember for both MCQ, that is prelims, and also for the mains examination. So New Green India Mission, ये नाम है. This is the name, and it is a roadmap for climate change battle. Whether it is Aravallis, whether it is Himalayas, whether it is Western Ghats, whether it is other hotspots, they all will be part of the New Green India Mission. चाहे फिर वो afforestation हो, चाहे फिर वो preventing the degeneration of soil हो, preventing or even stopping soil erosion or desertification, everything is there. So the question is that how you have to make a list of regionally conducive best practices. The practices which are applicable in West Bengal may not be applicable in Rajasthan. The practices which are applicable in Kerala may not be applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. So please make a list of sustainable practices, and then you have to make a list of the critical institutes, whether it is Wildlife Institute of India or other national institutes, or whether it is going with the new projects like Aravalli Green Wall project. So that is only going to help you in writing mains examination and also solving the question in the prelims. For example, India's one-third geographical area, that is 97.85 million hectares, it is undergoing land degradation since 2018-19, according to ISRO. So you also go and Google and go for the land degradation atlas and try to see how we can create an additional carbon sink of 3 billion tons through additional forest and tree covers by 2030 under UNFCCC, and also make another kind of database for even wetlands and also natural sponges. So this kind of understanding will only help you to write a mains answer whenever you are writing. It is not just about reading it and what the policy is saying. You have to think, and also you have to see the role and objective by the Forest Service of India. Again, the very important and repeated theme is what are the cost of pulses, not exact cost, but the cost in terms of why we are not cultivating much, how we can increase the land, how we can use high yielding varieties, and also oil imports. Do we have any substitute, or are we going to be more dependent, or duty must be reduced, or what are the other solutions when we speak about edible oils? So pulses, edible oil, they have reaching new high. Cultivation of these crops have turned unremunerative. So why these have become unremunerative? You have to think whether it is about MSP, whether it is about lack of awareness, whether it is about scientific lack of scientific bent of mind, or whether it is about the kind of precarious conditions in which farmers are working. So we must know that what is sown in Kharif times, what is sown in Rabi times, and we have to see the same thing with respect to vegetable oils. And we also must know which state is the leader in which edible oil, and then how geostrategic tensions, or even from Indonesia where we are getting palm oil, and from Malaysia soybean we are getting from Argentina and Brazil, and sunflower oil we are getting from Russia and Ukraine and Argentina. So these facts must help us to create a strategy for the future, that how we can do so. Fast tag annual pass, it is a kind of a policy decision, it is a kind of an helping initiative that one can appreciate. Coming to the Great Charter, that is the Magna Carta. So this is a very important part of the world history. The context is the medieval world time period. And why it is called Magna Carta? Because it is making a great difference. Okay, it is making a kind of a great difference to the modern world, and it is also creating future conditions. That is why it is called Magna Carta, the Great Charter. Okay, so when we say Great Charter, that means it is going to make a lot of difference, and it is also going to make such such kind of conditions that are going to be proceeded further. That is why the change from feudal structure to rational and modern structure, though not so modern. And the charter is actually speaking about what it can speak about. You can say about the basic fundamental ideas of human being. All men are free, everybody must have the right, nobody can be outlawed, exiled. This is they are speaking about in 1215, when Sultanate period was there. Now this is happening even today also, but then it went on to show the way. It is a philosophical and an ideal document. Today 4 copies of the original document have survived. A version from 1297 is auctioned in 2007 at US 21.3 million. So that is why it becomes very important, because it is going to show the way to the rest of the world. But then the showing power is so magnanimous, is so great, that it will be talking about equality. That is what we have to see. The document resulted in the most radical and the detailed restrictions on divine powers of a ruler, on irrational behavior, on divinity. And that is why subjects have the right to ask. So you can say the roots of parliament, roots of democracy, roots of modern system, roots of equality, liberty, justice, all these in the Western world view, they start with Magna Carta. Moving further, a Prime Minister, sir, had been in Vishakhapatnam. So international yoga is not just a yoga, it is not just a soft power, it is a tool by which India can promote not only its own citizens' health, but a message to the rest of the world also. So it is preventive, it is curative, it is very, very definitive, very, very important. Washington must not join Tel Aviv's war party. The key word is here, war party, while the global community must censor Israel for sowing chaos in the region while unleashing violence in the occupied territories. So this is what Pakistan newspaper is saying, but then Pakistan army chief having lunch with the US president. So other kind of negotiation do take place. India is having a very realistic and a kind of a very forward-looking foreign policy, and on those lines only we have to think and write answers in the mains. Meghalaya honeymoon, case which is there. So one must not, stereotype, or one must not create a kind of a prejudice, racial prejudice, I should say, or the violence with respect to certain state or certain region of India. In this case, it is about Northeast. So there is a Bej Barua committee which was formed after a teenage student from Arunachal Pradesh was assaulted and killed in Delhi. It found that the racial discrimination is there, and then people have their so the idea So the idea that a state or a region must be stereotyped must be removed if you really want to become a kind of a modern force, if you really want to become a kind of a great nation. So that is why, whether it is Manipur, whether it is Meghalaya, whether it is Arunachal Pradesh, whether it is Bengal, so it is not about just the eight sisters. It is about whole Indian mindset. So here are examples given, for example, of the Kuki Zo community, or even Khongprel Tapam from Meitei community. So the point is that we have to understand and see things from a different perspective. A study by the Center for Criminology and Victimology at the National Law University, Delhi, commissioned by ICSSR in 2021, it found that on racial discrimination basis, people from Northeast are actually discriminated. They are, they are seen as a Chinese person, and they face more hate and prejudices rather than but like rest of the Indian, they are not seen. So it is not, it is true, but then we have to work for that. That is what. Please look for three solutions which you think, that stereotyping, racial stereotyping, which is visible in public and also obviously in the private sphere many times. What three steps we will take to define, to I should say define, I mean to say, to find solutions for the same. The government is contemplating cap on air conditioner temperature. Is it a durable way to conserve energy? So there are two options which are given here, and one is that it is saying that it is not a game changer, and it opens the door to much needed conversation on the urgent developmental need, because cooling is the fastest growing technology consumer sector in India. It is economic growth, it is growing urbanization, it is intense and the frequent heat waves are there. Demand for air conditioning is surging. Last year, 15 million ACs were sold. And you can say that in 2022, there were only 7.5 million ACs. So you can say every 2, 3 years, it is doubling. So the significant share of electricity consumption in the places like Delhi, it is going for air conditioning, where 40% of cities' annual electricity use, it comes through, air conditioning also. But so you can say they are the major drivers of the peak electricity demand, and we need more and more. So that is why their grid is under pressure. And if you say otherwise also, then the AC, air condition, actually it relies primarily on the vapor compression technology, and it is the most energy intensive and environmentally damaging cooling method. the climate cost of AC extends well beyond electricity. So most of the ACs in India, if they are using hydrofluorocarbon in refrigerants, which the super greenhouse gas for prelims you must note. So it is also one of the problems. So it is also given here, which you can understand clearly that how you can say that how a typical 2 kg of HFCs is there in 1.5 to 2 ton AC. It is equal to 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. And emissions linked to the unit's annual electricity use about 1.5 tons of CO2, and the total climate impact comes to around 2.25 tons of carbon dioxide. So in that context, one can say that it is a good idea if you want to retain the level, because cooling is not a luxury, it is a basic need, it is essential for health, productivity, social stability. Hot and sleepless nights are linked to increased aggression, violence. Poor and vulnerable people are suffering for it. So cooling is not it is not just it is not just a luxury, that's what I'm saying. So the built environment, urban layout, there are other points: cross ventilation, facades, reflective roofs, landscaping. These must you must write in the paper, in the main answer, in general studies paper 1, or also in the optional paper, wherever suitable. India must invest in alternative like centralized cooling and district cooling systems, networks, chilled water through pipes to buildings, which can be used for cooling, like in the schools we say, like in the buildings, green buildings are there. So that is why, even if you say that this kind of idea is there, then all these things which we are discussing, they must also be planned, reduced as far as asphalt material that lower the heat absorption. India must invest in other ways. So cooling must be more inclusive. The rich rely on air conditioners, where majority of Indian population is vulnerable to extreme heat with little or no access to ACs. ACs disproportionately affect the poor through overloaded grid blackouts and intensified urban heat islands. So we must develop cooling systems for poor also. So the AC temperature cap is not a game changer. It opens the door for a more urgent conversation. Cooling is now a developmental necessity, but it is also an environment and energy emergency. When you see other way out, then is it a quick fix solution? Yes, it is a quick fix solution. And heat trap is there. And SUVs, SUVs are standing and their ACs are running. They are releasing more heat, in another example which is given here. So the dual nature of technology is there. So AC regulation, if you are talking, then it is not a sustainable and a long-term solution. Is it a practical solution? That's also people are. Water logging is inevitably poorly constructed and outdated drainage systems. The same holds for ACs also. So we must plan for something more smarter, more green spaces, more open spaces, more clear surfaces, natural light, and less artificial lighting throughout the day, less stylish constructions, going for less PVC, less superficial less superficial ceilings and so forth, because it is a fast paced urban lifestyle which is actually facilitating such kind of development. So even our daily activities are coming around gadgets. So United Nations projects that by 2050, 68% of the world population will live in urban areas, delivering only, covering only 3% of the planet's surface. Cities account for 78% of the global energy consumption and generate 60% of greenhouse gases. So this is very important to say. So here ऊपर हमने जो ग्रीन मिशन कवर किया उसकी बात होगी, स्मार्ट सिटी मिशन की बात होगी, वो सारे एलिमेंट्स आपको देखने पड़ेंगे, उन एलिमेंट से आपको आंसर लेके आना होगा. दैट इज व्हाई आई हैव डिस्कस्ड इट इन डिटेल. So, weight loss drugs, are they really going to make a difference? That is the whole point. So, अगर मैं बात करूं, so यहाँ पर जो की की टर्म्स हैं, जैसे ऑन्कोलॉजी की है या फिर आप वेट लॉस की बात करें, so the whole point is more about having a more sustainable lifestyle. It is a rage globally, but is it really going to make you a sustainable solution? It is it is also a kind of a offshoot. It is a kind of a offbeat solution, not for everybody. So the drugs are growing, markets are growing, obesity is growing, and pharma and manufacturing companies and the middlemen, they are benefiting like anything. It is a gold rush. But then is it really going to make life easy for majority of people who are suffering? No. Today is Yoga Divas. We must understand that long-term solutions are to be there, especially for people who can handle and manage it. So from this perspective, you have to bring keywords, you have to bring, because this question may come up, such question of idea will come up in the General Studies paper 1 in society section. And you have to also understand what is GLP-1 drugs. what is trizepatide, what is semaglutide, ये आपको exactly आपको सब पता होना चाहिए बेसिक, तो फिर जो है we will be able to handle. Moving forward, cash couldn't have been stored without the consent of Justice Verma. Everybody knows that. So this is the story which is coming up, and this story is validated, recorded when Judge Sahib is talking to his private assistant in the day in the dead of night at 2 a.m. And then the person who is there, he is first claiming I was not there, and then actually he was there. So the probe panel had found rightly, but then this is a very shameful and disgraceful act. And the rest, what more I can say, because this is all a citizen's disgrace, and it is questioning the integrity and also working of the judiciary. Government cookie talks heading towards free movement deal in Manipur. This is very important. Suspension of operation agreement with New Delhi are inching towards an agreement. There will be free movement of people and good across Manipur. This is a very, very crucial step in re-establishing peace and normalcy. So, people's, anguish, people's expressions must be trusted and they must be given space. And even the governor in Manipur, he is also playing a very, very crucial role, though in tough conditions. So that is why we must keep an eye on this. And then when a main answer comes up in general studies paper 1 or paper 3, or even in case of internal security, in 2 lines, you must be able to bring what is the essence and what is being done. Then only you can think of getting a score. Otherwise, keep preparing. इलेक्शन कमीशन कट शॉर्टेज टाइम फॉर पोल वीडियोज एंड फोटोज टू 45 days. इट इज साइटिंग मिसयूज की बाद में आप किसी ने कुछ किया, एडवेंचरिज्म है, स्पेकुलेशन है. सो इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ अ वेरी वेरी a very very correct way if you think in terms of preventing any nonsense, that within 45 days if someone has to complain, or someone wants to have any kind of difference of opinion, they can do so. So it is a kind of a reform. Strategic interest shapes US approach to Pakistan. Obviously India is not worried about any kind of meeting, but then it is about geography, it is about legacy, it is about regional threats, it is about the Mr. Trump, as we are saying that Mr. Trump is more of a, you can say he is uh, more of a kind of a deal maker, more of an idea of a businessman. He is more of a businessman. He is more of a, the idea is with respect to no long-term thinking. They want immediate gratification. So this is not going to work. So there had been, deals with India, the nuclear deal of 2008, defense cooperation under Limo and Comcasa. These are the key words when you speak about India and US strategic relationship. You must be keeping them in mind and our multilateral engagement. So we have to move on. Washington is knowing what it is doing, and we have also to do what we want to do. India's strength is not in, becoming an intermediary. Our interest and strategic values in terms of stable democracy, massive consumer market, growing technology base, competent military, rule-based approach, global governance. We are not a transactional power. We are a true civilizational state with having depth, having our own problems, having our own solutions. But Pakistan's fundamental remain fragile. So that is why we are on a path of understanding and solving problems which are unpredictable because of geostrategic reasons. But still, India will have to work in own way. So you can make a short note out of it. India must fast track exploration of critical mineral. This is very true. India is trying for the same. India is, trying to become self-dependent. It is not trying to be dependent on China. So what we can say is China, which is having two-thirds of global rare earth minerals, Australia, Chile, and China, it is having majority of lithium mining, and dominance is also there. 66% of processing of critical minerals is also taking place in China. So this goes up to 90%. China alone can break global EV industry to a halt by restricting supply of rare earths. It is happening at this right moment, but China is also not going to do it completely. China is also looking forward to give a kind of a shock, which is its power, because it has worked for it. It is a very, very smart power in that sense. So, we have to understand that not it is just about electrical vehicles, but it is about more than that. It is about the fourth industrial revolution, AI, robotics, big data. But the question here is how India is going to do so. So India is going to have partnerships. India is going to have partnerships for extraction of metal ore from the surface, processing of ore into usable metal, and the high degree of concentration. For example, cobalt is coming exclusively from Congo. Indonesia dominates in the mining of nickel. Almost 50% of the world is coming off there. China is having two-thirds of global rare earth mining. Australia, Chile, and China, as I just said, they are majority of lithium mining. So the question is that here solutions are not given. So I would look forward to you thinking about solution. What India is doing? What is that mission of India which is thinking about it? What is that exploration which is taking place? What is that extraction which we are doing? What is the public-private partnership? Which PSUs are involved? So this is my questions to you. Counseling, legal aid, shelter. One-stop centers come to rescue for women facing, you can say, abuse. So this is a kind of an out-of-the-box solution, which is very important. आप ethics में लिख सकते हैं, essay में लिख सकते हैं, and even in general studies paper one. So this is the one-stop center, like we can say the one-stop shop, one-stop angle, one-stop idea. So the center administrator approach is that people or the woman must feel powered, must feel empowered, and it is about implementing Justice, Usha Mehra the recommendations, and also Justice Verma's committee's recommendations, and also the role of the district administration. Government imposes more curbs on imports of gold and silver. Some importers found to be avoiding paying full duties. This always happens. Imports of palladium, rhodium, and iridium with more than 1% gold and silver in restricted category. Colloidal precious metals are suspension of gold and silver nanoparticles dispersed in liquid. Colloidal gold is used in cancer therapy and drug delivery, while the colloidal silver is used for antibacterial properties. So Indian money in six young triples. This is quite a news. Consumer deposits rise only 11%. So Indian money parked in Swiss banks have more than tripled in 2024. That is around 37,000 crores. So it is a huge jump on the funds through local branches and other financial institutions. And also money in customer accounts of Indian client only rose by 11%. So that is only about 3,675 crores. So official figures given by the Swiss bank. So the question is in terms of how India is a growing economy, and also Indian entities and Indian corporates and so forth. So this is just an example. So Swiss bank is providing all the data so that a kind of a transparency and a kind of an institutional system remains in picture. Iran has never closed Strait of Hormuz, and it will not do so. Strait of Hormuz, it lies between Iran and north and it lies between Iran to the north and Oman and UAE to the south. And it is the main route for oil exports from Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, and UAE. Many LNG shipments, especially from Qatar, they are also passing this strait. So this is how what we have to remember, especially for the prelims, and make it in the mains also. So silver is actually, silver is hitting the record high of 1.09 lakh per kg, and it is easing to little bit here and there, and seen as a safe haven between global tension. So silver exchange traded funds are gaining momentum among Indian retail investors, riding on record high prices, growing demand for transparent and regulated investment options. The white metal has attracted higher interest than gold and also delivered higher returns than yellow metal over a 5 years term. This is very, very important. So 1 year return 23 to 24%. So that is what silver exchange traded funds are giving, silver ETFs. And you can say the net inflows into silver ETFs launched in early 2022 following SEBI's approval surged over sixfold. So this is just an example that amid global tensions, how things are happening. Jewelers too are witnessing a parallel upstick in physical silver demand, noticeable increase in silver sales over the past year. That's what they are saying. Especially popular among Gen Z and first-time investors due to its low entry barrier, transparent pricing, and micro investment options. So this is very, very important. And beyond ETFs, digital silver is also witnessing a sharp traction, 2.5 to 3 times growth in digital. Hello. Change in stance and articulation on interest rates have there are certain bearings of the post policy bond market. Basic आपको जीएस के एंगल से देखना है, post policy bond market. So that this time RBI had provided not just a rate cut of 50 basis points, that is BPS, generally more than what was expected, but also lowered the CRR, that is cash reserve ratio, at a time when the system was in a surplus of about 2.5 to 3 lakh crore on a daily basis. So ऐसा लगता है कि that more and more liquidity is being provided, and कोई sense नहीं है. But then RBI had certainty in the market by announcing the cut over 4 tranches, and it is the beginning of a busy season when the demand for credit picks up. So that is why cut rate and the reduction in CRR, they are the measures to tell the market that RBI is providing support. So if RBI is providing support, so market should ideally have applauded with bond yield going down. In fact, the 10-year bond yield should have gone to 6.15 to 6.20% level, but instead it has now gotten to 6.30. So ऐसा क्यों हुआ? So that is happening because of you can say the policy and the post policy developments which is taking place. That means uh, what are India's macroeconomic fundamentals? What are the kind of response India is giving to geostrategic tensions? What kind of export and import scenario is taking place even with China and also with rest of the world, and how the US market is behaving? So these all kind of words and developments, they are helping India and also its debt market to act in a certain way. Again, geopolitical status of Strait of Hormuz is very important, and it is Iran and Oman. It is very critical in between, and it is surrounded by 8 Gulf nations. Strait of Hormuz, it can come in prelims next year. Oman, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Bahrain, and Iran, and about 90% of the oil exported by the region passes through it. It falls within the territorial water of 3 nations: the UAE, Oman, and Iran. US maintains a military presence in the region. Its Fifth Fleet exercises operational control over maritime forces in the area and around the strait, and headquartered at Manama in Bahrain. The US Coast Guard has also maintained permanent presence since 2004, and it conducts maritime patrols. Besides this, Combined Task Force 150, a multinational force whose jurisdiction includes Strait of Hormuz, is also present. Pakistan, Canada, France, Germany, UK, and the US all contribute to the approximately 15 vessel to CTF 150, with command rotating between the nations for every 4 to 6 months. But are there any alternatives? The alternatives is obviously, you can say, the Saudi Arabia's East-West pipeline to the Red Sea, or UAE's Abu Dhabi's crude pipeline to Fujairah, a port on Gulf of Oman, but the capacity is nowhere like the way it is. We have already said, अगर block होगा तो क्या होगा? Then block होगा, then definitely it is going to have a chilling impact on the prices of crude oil, gases, and so forth, and also other kind of geostrategic developments. 3 developments you must write, because I have already discussed this in our previous interactions. Global FDI again shrinks, but the question is that, is India in the longer run going to get the kind of support through foreign direct investment? But the global scenario is changing. Things are, going in a really hayward manner, which no one expected, especially after coming of the Donald Trump in the second time, and also the kind of things which are happening because of the Russia, Ukraine, and also because of Israel and other kind of development. So that is why it is a deterioration in sectors which are aligned with the sustainable development goals. But then I'm sure that India is going to bounce back, developing as a developing economy with its own ease of doing business, strong foundation, and law and order stability, and so forth. So we have to continually push upon and not to bother about the same. Slow recovery from dubious pre-bankruptcy transactions. Only a tenth of amount in avoidance transactions disposed by tribunals, and recovery in 2025. So इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड bankruptcy board of India, जिसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं भारतीय दिवाला और शोधन अक्षमता बोर्ड. So as per IBBI, a decision on avoidance transactions by tribunal will add recovery to creditors by at least 10%. तो ये एक अपील बैटल है, बहुत मुश्किल है, because there are just 12% of voidable deals executed by promoters and management of 360 companies were recovered. Such deals could include paying off creditors ahead of bankruptcy while ignoring others. IBC is not designed to recover debt, क्योंकि इसका काम है resolution of distressed firms. So this is the reason that makes it hard to recover money from avoidance transactions. तो ये बहुत ही बेसिक कॉमन सेंस पॉइंट है, जो आप जनरल स्टडीज पेपर 3 में भी नोट कर सकते हैं, और इकोनॉमिक्स ऑप्शनल पेपर 2 के लिए तो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है. सेबी रिफॉर्म्स विल हेल्प ओनली अप टू अ पॉइंट, वेरी ट्रू. एक पर्पज से ये बात बिल्कुल सही है, लेकिन सेबी रिफॉर्म्स आर गोइंग टू मेक अ फंडामेंटल चेंज, और कैपिटल मार्केट परस्पेक्टिव से बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बिकॉज पॉलिसी मेकर्स ऑलवेज टेक द व्यू पॉइंट ऑफ हाउस होल्ड्स एंड ले इन्वेस्टर्स इनटू अकाउंट. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि लॉन्ग टर्म में इसका फायदा नहीं होगा, और रिटेल सेविंग्स जो है इंडियन इकोनॉमी की वो बढ़ेंगी, एंड फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन थ्रू लो इंटरेस्ट रेट ऑन डिपॉजिट्स, ये एक बहुत ही क्रूशियल पॉइंट है. आरबीआई लेटेस्ट रेपो रेट कट ऑफ हाफ अ परसेंटेज पॉइंट हैज मेड बैंक स्लैश देयर एफडीज एंड सेविंग अकाउंट्स. तो आप ये कह सकते हैं कि उसकी वजह से इन्फ्लेशन और टैक्स लाइबिलिटी बढ़ती है, नेगेटिव अर्निंग्स बढ़ते हैं डिपॉजिटर्स के लिए, और बहुत अगर कम रिटर्न आएगा तो लो इंटरेस्ट रेट्स ये बोरोवर्स के लिए तो बहुत अच्छा है, बट इट इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प अदर्स एंड इंक्लूडिंग पेंशनर्स. सो दैट इज़ वाई रिफॉर्म्स और चाहिए. अब आपको अगर स्टॉक मार्केट में डालना है तो उसके लिए भी बहुत ज़्यादा एक सूझबूझ और लॉन्ग टर्म पेशेंस चाहिए. India's informal sector is being tracked better than ever before, very true, because not only as a percentage of GDP by the MSME, by agriculture and other sector, but it is also a very, very important role playing in terms of real estate, and then agriculture and forestry, as I just said. So the graph that